Emily Carter stood by the kitchen sink, staring out at the quiet suburban street. The sun dipped below the rooftops, casting a golden hue over the neatly trimmed lawns. It was the kind of evening that should have felt peaceful, but instead, a hollow ache settled in her chest. David sat in the living room, his eyes fixed on the television, half listening to the news. His presence had become more like background noise, familiar, constant, but distant. Their conversations were reduced to necessities: grocery lists, schedules, the occasional remark about the weather. It wasn't always like this, Emily reminded herself, but somewhere along the years, love had been replaced by routine. "Mom." Liam's voice pulled her from her thoughts. He leaned against the doorway, his expression caught between excitement and uncertainty. "Can I talk to you about some things?" She turned, smiling softly. "Of course. What's on your mind?" He hesitated before sitting at the table, running a hand through his dark hair. "It's about this girl, Sophie." His voice carried the weight of something delicate, something he wasn't sure how to say out loud. Emily sat across from him, intrigued. "Tell me about her." "She's amazing," Liam said, eyes lighting up. "She's smart, confident, and just different. She doesn't play games like other girls my age. She listens when I talk like she actually cares. I think she likes me, but I don't know what to do next." Emily's heart swelled at his sincerity. He was still so young, unguarded in a way that only someone untouched by heartbreak could be. "If she makes you feel seen, that's a good start," she said. "But take your time. Get to know her. Be sure of what you're feeling before you jump in." Liam nodded, considering her words. "Yeah, that makes sense." Then, as if testing the waters, he added, "You'd like her?" Emily chuckled. "I'm sure I would." But something about the name lingered in her mind longer than it should have. Sophie. It wasn't uncommon, yet it felt familiar in a way she couldn't place. She brushed the thought aside. Later that evening, as Emily folded laundry in the bedroom, David walked in, barely looking at her as he set his phone on the nightstand. "Long day," he muttered, unbuttoning his shirt. She nodded. Yeah, that was it. No follow-up, no curiosity about her day. She wanted to tell him about Liam, about the way their son's face lit up at the thought of love. But David had already moved on, scrolling through his phone, disengaged. Emily swallowed the lump in her throat, folding the last of the shirts. She wasn't looking for excitement, wasn't seeking something new. She just wanted to feel connected again, to someone, anyone. And fate, it seemed, was about to give her that chance. "You said." "Okay, perfect. Now write script on act, keeping in mind don't repeat any section, keep it to the point, no beating around bush quality. I want with same word count mentioned and don't mention scenes. And don't write headings. Write minimum 500 section 2. ChatGPT said. Liam walked into the cafe, scanning the room until he spotted Sophie. She was sitting by the window, sunlight catching in her auburn hair as she sipped her coffee. He took a deep breath and approached, heart pounding. "You actually showed up?" she teased, flashing him a playful smile. "Of course," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I wasn't going to pass up coffee with you." Sophie tilted her head, studying him. "You're sweet, Liam. You remind me of someone I used to know." His stomach tightened at the way she said it, like she was speaking to a memory, not to him. But he shook it off, determined to make an impression. He told her about his classes, his dreams, his plans for the future. She listened, laughing in the right places, nodding thoughtfully. But something shifted when Sophie's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, then looked past him, out the window. For the first time, Liam felt her attention slip. That evening, Emily checked her messages and saw an unexpected name pop up. Sophie Hart. Long time no see. Let's catch up? Emily stared at the message, her pulse quickening. Now she knew why the name had sounded familiar. Sophie wasn't just some girl Liam had met. She was someone from Emily's past. Not a close friend, but someone she had crossed paths with years ago, a woman who had always carried an undeniable presence. She hesitated before replying. "Didn't expect to hear from you. Hope you're doing well." The response came quickly. "Better now. Missed our talks. Let's grab a drink sometime?" Emily's fingers hovered over the keyboard. It wasn't a good idea, she knew that. But something about Sophie's message, the way it felt like a door opening to something unknown, made her type. Sure. 2 nights later, Emily met Sophie at a quiet bar. The years had only made her more captivating, confident, effortlessly charming. They talked about the past, about where life had taken them. I always admired you, Sophie admitted, swirling her drink. You had this quiet strength. I used to wonder what was going on inside that head of yours. Emily laughed softly. Nothing as interesting as you probably imagined. Sophie leaned in slightly. I don't know about that. It was subtle, but Emily felt it. The shift in energy, the unspoken invitation. It was intoxicating in a way she hadn't expected. She should have pulled back, but she didn't. Later that night, as she lay in bed beside David, her phone vibrated again. Sophie, tonight was nice. I've missed this. Emily stared at the screen. Knowing this was the beginning of something dangerous. But instead of deleting the message, she let it linger, fingers hovering over the reply button. She had spent years feeling invisible. And now, suddenly, someone was looking at her like she mattered. Liam paced his room, rehearsing what he wanted to say. He had never felt this way about anyone before, and he was tired of second-guessing. Tonight, he was going to tell Sophie how he felt. He grabbed his phone, typing a quick message. Hey, are you free? I'd love to see you. The reply was almost instant. Come by in an hour. Relief washed over him. This was it. No more wondering, no more waiting. An hour later, he arrived at Sophie's apartment, heart hammering in his chest. He took a deep breath, then knocked. No answer. He frowned and knocked again. The door wasn't fully closed, just slightly ajar. He hesitated before pushing it open. Soft laughter drifted from inside. A voice, familiar, warm, but completely out of place. His mother's voice. Liam's stomach twisted as he stepped further inside. And then he saw them. Emily and Sophie sat close on the couch, bodies angled toward each other. Sophie's hand rested lightly on Emily's knee, and the way they looked at each other, soft, intimate, made Liam's breath catch. Emily noticed him first. The shock on her face was immediate, her hand pulling away as if burned. Sophie turned, eyes widening, but she didn't look guilty. Just resigned. Liam, Emily whispered, scrambling to her feet. His throat tightened, words choking inside him. What is this? Emily reached for him, but he stepped back. It's not what you think. Not what I think. His voice cracked, the betrayal hitting him all at once. You knew. You knew how I felt about her. Emily's face crumpled. I never meant for this to happen. Liam let out a bitter laugh. But it did. Sophie finally spoke, her tone calm. Liam, I didn't want to hurt you. He turned on her, eyes burning. Then what was this? Leading me on while he couldn't.